Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You might remember me from such award-winning deconstructions as Stop Those Bad Pictures Now and Young Illiterates in Love. Alright, well, forget that. I'm C.F. Roberts. If you're tuned in, you might know that already. No biggie. Well, Cat's got that controversy thing again, and by and large, when it started this year, late in the year of our Lord 2005, it was basically a game of dirty politics, but then the Government Channel held this little roundtable and everything went awry, because it turned out that most of the folks were harping about local programming and actually had no idea what they were talking about most of the time, which I suppose is about par for the course. And I've been telling people for a while, it's just like, I don't ever want to do another one of these roundtables again. If I'm even asked to do it, I don't know what to tell you. I would rather pull my own teeth out or eat glass than do another roundtable. This one, I wasn't on it. This one was actually pretty interesting, because as far as people who complain about content matters on Cat and whatnot, it actually captured a good look at them, their concerns, their fears, their ideas, their misconceptions, pretty much the whole gamut. And it made me cry, made me laugh, made me grind my teeth in horror. But I just wanted to do the usual thing. It's almost become a shtick at this point. But I wanted to just kind of walk you through this roundtable and show you all the fun that happens. Welcome to Gird Your Loins, Gomer. Enjoy.
If we would discuss what that controversy is, if some of you could share the ideas, bringing the audience up to date. If any of you want to share any information such as the progression of how anything might have started, how we got to this particular point, and whether or not you think that there is a controversy as it has been cast.
Well, I'll talk about that controversy, but I'll put that controversy into quotation marks because I really don't think there is one. Basically, there have been some complaints about a program that's an imported program that plays after 3 o'clock in the morning called Free Speech TV that we pull off Dish Network, that's sponsored by the Omni Peace and Justice Center here in Fayetteville. And I guess there are some adult things talked about on the series, which runs well after midnight.
It starts after midnight?
It starts at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay.
I've taped different parts of it. I've never been lucky enough to find all these disturbing images that some people claim to have seen on there. But
I'll just say, is going back to 1986, I think is when I was manager of public access. There's always controversy, because you're talking about free speech, and free speech is a controversial thing. That's why the First Amendment exists, so that people can express themselves, and some people don't like what other people have to say, but that's why we have the First Amendment, so that our speech is not restricted by other people's tastes.
Well, some folks can't wait and can't get there fast enough as far as doing away with that. Hang on, we'll talk to them in a minute.
From the correspondence that I've gotten, is not necessarily about the programming content. I have an email here, and the background is, a little bit of it is that a gentleman by the name of Joey Dutton is concerned that how did he put it, why the bulk of programming on our local access station coming from a satellite feed on a network out of Colorado. According to Joey, and I sent him an email this morning and asked if the specific programming that he's complaining about had been locally produced, would he still be making these complaints? And he said he wouldn't. So this isn't, according to what I've got, isn't necessarily about the content, because this has been gone over ad nauseum as far as free speech and First Amendment. What his complaint is origin of programming.
I believe Mr. Dutton's being disingenuous when he says it's not about content, because his complaints to City Council talk about the liberal agenda and the militant left-wing agenda of Free Speech TV. And I know that today he's claiming it's not about content, but his complaints have been about content.
Disingenuous, yeah. Well, for those of us who've known Joey for X number of years, I don't know, he's basically playing, the contract, the access contract's up for grabs. Joey's vying for it, and for those of us who've known him for X number of years, well, he's playing dirty politics, and for those of us who've known him, we know that that's what he does.
And we've got a lot of propaganda from a fella in the past from cable TV, but I've had a lot of phone calls, and I really didn't take to heart the phone calls I got from different people about the stuff that's being shown on CAD TV. This is unacceptable. And I am not going to vote to give them one dime unless some changes are made on it.
Along the way, he has actually grossly mischaracterized the free speech TV feed, which seems extremely disingenuous to me. Just if you're being honest about it, just call a duck a duck.
Well, when I got the email about it, he had captured still photos from some type of program. I guess it was, what's the name of this program?
It's Free Speech TV. I'm not sure. I mean, there are several shows that run on it.
Yeah, I mean, it shows different things, but the stills captured were kind of grainy, and I can't honestly say that I spent a lot of time looking at them.
And if your complaint's not about content, the best way you can prove that is run around and capture scandalous still photos, right?
We're taking stuff out of context, though. I mean, really, look at a picture from a show and you don't know what the picture's about. I mean, we're talking about something just totally out of context.
This issue was brought up several years ago about content. So I began to watch Cat
Yeah, look out, here come the morality cops.
more closely late at night. When I say late at night, 9 o'clock. And I saw shows where a gentleman was having simulated sex with a Barbie doll. I saw women sucking on the breast of another woman. I saw this with my own eyes. It was not after midnight. This is content that I've seen with my own. I've seen people actually, I mean, they were naked, whether they were having simulated sex or not. They were nude. Having sex in a cemetery. As a taxpayer of Fayetteville, I don't want my tax dollars being spent on stuff like this.
Your tax dollars are.
Well, I could go off for quite a bit on Big Bry here and some of his attitudes and ideas, and of course the big ploy that he pulls throughout this whole gig is the plight of the put-upon taxpayer. And of course taxes don't go to CAT. It's actually a franchise fee. It's part of your cable bill. People who don't subscribe to cable don't actually pay for the service. And you might note, all you put upon taxpayers, what you pay for those franchise fees yearly, what goes into CAT is, per year, you probably pay a whopping $1.05 or something to that effect. And, well, not a lot of dough to pay for a service that you and all your friends and neighbors can use if you choose to do so. And if you don't choose to use your forum for free speech, I don't know what to tell you. You really are wasting your money and wasting your freedoms as well. As far as being the put-upon taxpayer, there are a lot of things I don't like paying for. One of those things would be a huge intrusive government that passes legislation like the Patriot Act and its ilk, using terrorism as an excuse to erode our civil liberties. Call us a free country. Well, we're getting less and less free by the second. And people like this don't help. Another thing I don't like, paying taxes to a government that is sending our young men and women to die in a war over lies. Something else I don't like particularly, and I could go on and on all day. Not like I think the government's going to listen to me or do doodly about it, but I do have a forum where I can come on and bitch and harp and rant and whatever. And That I'm thankful for. You should be too.
Exactly.
Well, it's
And
no,
I don't
it's not.
particularly,
It's private
I
money.
have to agree with you. I mean, I don't care for my government's money paying for programming like that. I don't see, now, I gotta tell you, I haven't seen this because truthfully, I don't watch this channel. I would if I had more choices that I felt were appropriate. But, you know, from the people that I've talked with, I don't see how demonstrating how to do drugs or demonstrating how you can kill a person or demonstrating sexual techniques contributes to our community.
And for someone who truthfully doesn't watch this channel, Carolyn Long certainly is an authority on what goes on this channel. Kind of a funny thing, demonstrating how to kill people, demonstrating how to do drugs, demonstrating how to, what was the other one? No, I forget. But I don't think I've ever seen those shows. Maybe it's just me, but I don't think I've seen them. Wonder what she's talking about. No, that's okay, she doesn't know what she's talking about. Doesn't Carolyn Long just scream the word shrew to you? Back when she was a newscaster in the Little Rock area, I've talked to I don't know how many people who said they really had the hots for her. Most of them don't seem to now. She's just gotten that hard, mean kind of look about her, which I guess, you know, that natural downturn to the mouth. I guess it comes naturally with being a moral demagogue or something to that effect.
Somebody's paying for it. And the city of Fayetteville and the citizens of Fayetteville are paying for it.
The cable subscribers are paying for it, just as they pay for Pat Robertson. And I don't like Pat Robertson saying that the New Orleans flood was caused by the lifestyle of the people who live there. So
Well, as I
I have
understand
my
it-
views and you have your views,
Certainly.
but they're both on the cable channel.
See, I can't block out.
Sure you can.
How?
An interesting contradiction here with Ms. Long. She's saying that, truthfully, she doesn't watch the channel, and yet she can't block it out. So which is it?
One way to, quote, solve the problem, if you see free speech TV as a problem, would be to say only local programs. But if you do that, then you're cutting out all the religious programming that's on CAT right now. And you're cutting out the Army news that's on the CAT right now. Because you couldn't say, we're not going to allow anything but religious programming to be imported, because that would be based on content, and you can't do that.
And we have more religious programming than any channel in the
Oh,
area.
absolutely.
I don't think it's a matter of religion, not for me personally.
No.
I am a Christian. It's about values. You obviously don't share the same values that I have.
Well,
Everyone doesn't share the same values as Brian Maloney. Heaven forbid. Let's just ram a unified set of values down everyone's throat and make everyone toe the line, shall we? Yeah, that's what America's all about, baby.
the casual person at home just reading the newspaper, watching the show, is going to think, oh my God, I don't dare let my kids watch Channel 18. They've got nasty, filthy, disgusting things on there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. But you know what? I think it's always a good idea to know what we're talking about.
Well, dream on, Richard, because they don't know what they're talking about. They will continually demonstrate over the course of this that they don't know what they're talking about. And they don't want to know what they're talking about.
Before we get into our discussion, I'm not going to embarrass anybody by asking if they know what's on CAT tonight.
Well, go ahead and embarrass them because they don't.
What's on the channel? The channel has an excellent website, www.catfayetteville.com, where you can check out the schedule anytime. I have a copy of the schedule in front of me. We've got all these dangerous shows like the Hare Krishnas. Oh my God, Democracy Now! On the air with Richard S. Drake. I've been trying to take that one off for years. We have the Bulldog Show. We have high school shows. We have Oodles and Gobs of religious shows. We have some horror movies playing. The average person is going to think that you're going to turn on the TV at any time of day and night and see these things, and that is just not the case.
May I say something?
The inclusion of Ann Hanna in this roundtable was a coup nothing short of brilliant. The thing I love about Mrs. Hanna, and she never lets me down, first of all, she's off in La La Land somewhere, and but she always has something, eventually, if you have her in a public forum, and it comes around to her, eventually she says something absolutely horrible, and this will be no exception, but hang on, we'll come to that.
Norton has done a nice job, you know, of filming all of these little programs, and the little girls are very happy. But Dee Dee has to caution the girls and their parents of the exact time the show is played for fear of watching something that's very offensive to girls, to young, modest girls and boys.
Again, I would say these adult shows run after midnight. I mean, what are little kids watching TV after midnight?
But they don't always
They
run after
don't
midnight.
always do that. Now, I must say, I've not watched Cats in a long time because of this very same controversy since I've been in Fayetteville since 1950, before they even had TV. It's been very offensive to me because it's so unpredictable.
Yeah, unpredictability can be so offensive. Well, just can't we make life nice and safe and predictable? Just take all this unpredictability and just slam the hammer down on it. Get rid of it. Just do away with it now.
The programs that you're referring to that you've watched that were offensive.
Oh, this is years ago now, Lindsley. I haven't bothered to watch Cat because it is offensive. I like the Government Channel. I used to watch it a lot, more than I ever wanted to. But at any rate, there just seems to be no standard of decency. Watch sexual intercourse on television. And I
Have you
don't want
seen
to.
sexual intercourse on
I
television?
don't believe you have.
You don't?
No.
Well, one time there was this show, maybe if I haven't, but I did catch it when I was flipping a channel that just blew me away, and I didn't like it.
And it was sexual intercourse?
No, I have not seen sexual.
So have you seen sexual intercourse or haven't you? She doesn't seem to be able to make up her mind there.
I've heard that it was on, but I've seen nudity.
The
And
people who have told you that are exaggerating, because if it were sexual intercourse, it would be legally obscene, and that's
well,
not.
even
But it's
intimating it is
simulated.
Simulated is
Simulated
is
okay.
obscenity to me.
Yeah, one thing you're going to see again and again with this crowd is the legal definition of obscenity doesn't mean diddly to them. It's what's obscene to me. Well, I don't know. Like I've said, I don't know. The entire Bush administration's obscene to me. I don't know. The way they're ripping down lower income housing and putting up these $100,000 condos all over town, that's obscene to me. So we can both play that game.
And you know,
That's your taste, and that's the problem.
well,
see?
no, it's not exactly my taste. It's a matter of semantics. And to me, when you entertain a thought, the thought gives birth to the deed.
Well,
And
we wouldn't be here if it weren't for sexual intercourse, that's for sure.
well, I'm not denying that,
But
but I
community
think our
standards have
parents.
kept that from being out in the public through
But
most of our
it's-
history.
But that's what I'm saying,
Community-
it's not in the public.
And
We're just hearing that it is. And it's-
Once again, you get the massive cluster problem here of no one really knowing what they're talking about. Ooh, intercourse is in the public eye. No, it isn't. We're just hearing that it is. No, it's there, I'm sure. Someone told me. I think I saw intercourse. Ooh, I'm not sure it was intercourse, but it just offended me so much.
And are we going to raise the specter of community standards? Because, Fayetteville has one of the most diverse communities in Northwest Arkansas.
Is that something to be so proud of?
You're
Diversity?
You're absolutely
Absolutely.
right.
I'm afraid I'm
I think
a
all of us
minority.
are very proud of the diversity of our community.
I'm
and
not.
There we go. What did I tell you? She never lets me down. there will always be an instance where Mrs. Hannah will be in public and she'll say something horrid like that. Just let's fire up the concentration camps and get rid of those diverse people.
Thank God for diversity in Fayetteville. And I think it has made this channel a very rich and entertaining channel.
Well, you know, there's a difference of opinion. When I was a child, and we traveled to Montreal after the war, we took a trip, and we had to wait several years after the war to take a trip. And I asked the taxi driver if he would take us to the sordid parts of the city because I'd never seen them. And he said, "Oh no, you don't want to see that. We're all trying to get over the war."
Yeah, we all know how hard Hitler hit Montreal during the war.
And we don't need to be depressed. And that, I think, is the way of the thinking has gone. Why would we want to go and look at the sordid, the unbeautiful, the unlovely, and dwell on those things? Why? What good does it do? What good does it do to see? And I'm an English major and a psychology major, and I just happen to think that literature and all the things that you read and everything that you do should build you up and not tear you down.
Well, here I get to go off at length, and this is one of the most interesting parts in that whole roundtable, in my opinion. And if you hadn't guessed yet, Mrs. Hannah and I are going to be diametrically opposed philosophically on just about everything. She's basically said everything I'm against. Denial is more than just a river in Egypt, folks. Where I have a problem here is the notion, okay, I'm going to actually take up the cudgel for the unbeautiful and the unlovely, and tell you the value of showing people the unbeautiful and the unlovely. A few blocks from where I'm at, you can see a big construction site, and it's where a bunch of old homes and trailer parks and whatnot have been wiped out and torn down, and they're building a development there for $100,000 condos. And something tells me the people that used to live there aren't going to be able to afford to live in this new place. Now, in the last mayoral debate, one of the last mayoral debates, the incumbent mayor was debating a couple of his competitors, I guess you'd say. He was asked a specific question. All three of them were asked a specific question. And, I was a Cyrus young guy, not ashamed to say it. Cyrus, who will probably be the first person to tell you he's not big on the vision thing, said that he really didn't know what to do for the south end of Fayetteville, but something has to be done for those people. Note the term, for those people. Mayor Cootie, who's got vision he ain't even used yet, said, well, we're doing it for South Fayetteville. We built that nice library, blah, blah, blah. And one of the most telling things he said was, there was this bunch of mobile homes and we tore them down and put up these nice apartments in their place. And it begged the question, and nobody asked the question. I wish to God somebody had, because it was what really stuck in my craw. What happened to the people who lived in those trailers? Did they move into the nice apartments? Dollars to donuts, they didn't. So, I don't know, anyway. Just a kind of diametric, there we are again with diametric opposition, between a guy who says, we've got to do something for those people, and the guy says, oh, we're doing it. We're jacking up the property and running all the riffraff out. And nobody caught that. Nobody caught that. It was unbelievable. But that's the kind of ugliness I like to expose around Fayetteville, which makes a lot of people uncomfortable. A lot of people don't like, like I said before, denial's more than just a river in Egypt. But there's where Mrs. Hannah and I are going to differ, and probably differ eternally. Even in ugliness, the ugliness of art, the art that is ugly, I think there's great value. Picasso's painting Guernica, great example. Just a really messed up, incredible, unique vision of the horrors of war and killing. Of course, I'm wasting my time flapping my gums to folks like these, but just for the record, that's where I differ with all these folks.
Also, all of America. This channel goes to Fayetteville and Fayetteville only.
I don't see a lock on the front door. I don't see us locking the front door on anybody. I mean, the citizens of Fayetteville do have a say on what goes on the channel because they're the ones who are working very hard. They're checking out equipment, they're in the editing rooms, they're doing shows, and it's not the shows that you are complaining about so vociferously. I mean, we have an entire schedule of shows that people are working very hard on, and so the people of Fayetteville, yes, indeed, do have a say in what goes on this channel.
So your stand is that only the people that are producing programming have
Yes,
a
it's
say.
a
Is that what
very
you're saying?
minority group.
That's a very small
Only small group.
Well, why is it a small, select minority group? No, let's just sit around and watch stuff and complain. Let's not do anything for ourselves. Okay, maybe I'm being a little mean. Well, I don't care that I'm being a little mean, but like I said, if you're too much of a loud to use your free speech, shut up. I might be a conflict. I don't know. Never mind. It sticks in my craw, and I will be mean about it. But well, if it's a small select group, why? One thing I don't particularly care for is that we live in this society that just kind of vicariously wants everyone to be these kind of vicarious spectators. Participation is not the norm. And participation and getting involved is the paradigm in public access. It's not about look at this stuff, sit down and watch this stuff that is being presented to you. It's get in there and do something. And if you can't get in there and do something, well, don't blame us.
Start with the naked people, and then we can go to homosexuals.
No, but I
Then
mean,
go to
seriously,
Jews, and
that would be illegal. It would,
It's
it would,
not
about
specific lifestyles or cultures or individuals of ethnic. It has
No,
nothing
it's
to
not
do with
about
that. Y'all try to make it a religious and ethnic and
Yeah, you
a
do.
lifestyle issue, and it's not.
Well,
It's simply about moral values that I do not wish that any money, whether it be through Cox Cable or my own city, pay for a channel which shows people having simulated sex with a Barbie doll, women sucking the breast of another woman, women playing with dildos.
Okay,
I just-
but do you also not want the dance recitals and is that, you're willing to give that up to?
I'm telling you, I
There's a
like
difference.
CAT. There are some things on CAT that's very good, and it's a wonderful program, and it teaches people in the community. But you got the bad that outweighs the good.
And
And
so
if
You've got the bad that outweighs the good. Well, Mr. Maloney and I will probably differ on, well, just about everything, but we'll probably differ specifically on what's bad and what's good. I'm going to just leap. Well, I won't leap. It's pretty obvious. Going to make the assumption that what he's talking about as the bad is shows like mine, shows like the one you're seeing my smiling face on right now. Viewer discretion advised shows are, let me see, largely comprise about 1% of the programming schedule. I think at their high point, at their absolute zenith, they may have comprised 3%. And it's so much for the bad outweighing the good. But typical with Mr. Maloney, it's quite obvious he has no idea what he's talking about, and as per usual, he just ain't getting his facts straight. and we'll have more of these issues to deal with him as the show wears on.
Have to be all
It will
It
be
does.
one.
or
Yeah.
nothing?
It does,
Yes.
yeah. But by law, it does.
Well, then that,
Then maybe Cat should go out and get
Yeah.
some private funding and not get money
Yeah.
from my city,
Uh,
which I
Yes.
pay taxes
Steve
to.
Martin did a comedy album in the 70s called Comedy Isn't Pretty. And freedom of speech isn't pretty. And this is a problem you get, I think. We have always had this problem, people get on the board too, and they think that freedom of speech is this great, noble idea. But when you get right down to it, freedom of speech is, people farting in the street. But I'm going to tell you something. You're watching TV with the sound off? Are you watching TV with the sound off?
With the sound off?
Are you watching
No.
TV with the sound off? So what's happening? What are they talking about? I mean, I'm not putting myself
No, you want to
in-
know? There's music playing. It's hard rock
Okay.
music.
I'm
There's
not
no talking. There's no dialogue.
Because I'm not putting myself in, because this sounds like, Boss Tweed and Tammany Hall, and he says, stop those damn pictures, talking about the newspaper cartoons. We're taking things out of context again, and I don't know what we're
Tell me
talking
what
about.
context
I
it
don't
was
think
meant
so.
in then.
I don't know, because I didn't produce the show. I know a lot of people use such
Did you
imagery.
see the show?
I don't know that I've seen that particular show, because
Then how can you say that I'm taking it out of context?
Could it be because I've sat here with you and listened to you go off for about 30 minutes and realize you're an idiot?
You haven't seen it.
because you can't tell me what the show was about. The whole show was
Because
about.
it was not about anything. It was about a guy having sex with a Barbie or simulated
and
sex.
there
There
seems
was
to be
no-
so much shock value.
redeeming value.
So much
There was,
shock
there was no
value.
dialogue. There was nothing. He did it with the Barbie doll, and he acted like he had an orgasm, and the show ended.
Some guy pretends to have sex with a Barbie doll and then the show ends. Well, it doesn't sound like any show I've ever seen.
What was the title of that program? Do you remember?
I don't. It aired several years back.
I know some of the producers who produce this stuff, and it is meant as satire. George Bernard Shaw said, satire is what closes on Saturday night, and it closes on Saturday night because most people don't get satire.
I just want to know.
And the average rube who doesn't get satire, well, this table's full of them.
What else I'm supposed to read into that scene.
I don't know. I don't know if
I don't know
that's
how you
the
can take
entire
out of
program.
context.
I
what
mean,
I'm
we're
doing.
not asking you to watch it. We're not asking you.
And he'll be willing to just throw it all away. Well, if stuff's got to be shown on there that I don't like, then the dance recitals and the religious shows and all that, we'll just chuck all that out too. Anything anyone in the community wants to do, well, we'll just throw it all out because of this one or two shows I don't like that I claim makes up the whole program, whatever. Is that stupid and fascist or what? I think that's really stupid and fascist. I have no compunctions about saying so either. Well, here are all these people, something that anyone local, myself included, can participate in, but I don't like some of it, so let's just get rid of all of it. Let's eliminate a lot of our local color and flavor because it rubs against my grain personally. Good thinking, pal.
Recent Supreme Court ruling said the Ten Commandments can't be put in courthouses or on any government property. That's freedom of speech.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not freedom of speech. It's government promoting one type of religion. Totally different issue. Well, a similar issue, but a totally different issue. One citizen's right to express themselves and government shoving one particular religion down everyone's throat are two different issues. Sorry.
You are here, and this is about a controversy, so it's not just
Yeah.
us.
No,
I'm
There's
just like
about some
moderator.
controversy somewhere.
Oh yeah, there's a controversy somewhere. We don't know where it is, but it's out there somewhere.
Than Mr. Dutton.
Oh, no,
Well,
that's a
no.
lot of
You would
people.
agree that that is
Why?
not true?
no.
No.
Okay.
Everybody, all my sphere of friends are opposed to the programming on CAT,
All the programming?
except for the one little thing about the little, girls learning how to be little ladies over there at this historical.
They don't like the
house.
Hare Krishna.
I'm sorry?
Uh,
Hare Krishna? No, I
I
don't
mean, I
think.
don't know. When they say they don't like anything on cat, what are they talking about?
Well, they're scared to watch it because they might see something
Scared
nasty,
to
Richard.
watch it?
Yes, and we don't like to watch nasty stuff on TV because we're nice little girls.
I get
Don't tell them to say, please remove me because I do not want to have this kind of programming in Fayetteville, Arkansas, which is a crown jewel of the Ozarks. It is. but we want it pristine. We don't want it smutty. We don't.
So we don't want to show the parts of life that maybe some people are uncomfortable looking at.
That's right. Do you like to look at a dog going to the bathroom? I don't.
I have 3 dogs. I don't care.
I don't like to see that kind of stuff, and I don't like to talk about it.
Well, I mean, you know, life is life, and there are certain parts of life that are beautiful and attractive, and there's certain parts of life that really are not. And, you know, some of those things we are forced to see.
Oh yeah, gotta put a stop to that. Let's just get rid of all that. Down with reality.
When you're walking down a street and somebody's had too much to drink and they, you know, throw up on the curb. Well, I don't want to look at that. But sometimes that happens. But I certainly don't want to be paying for simulations of people vomiting or whatever.
Simulations of people vomiting. And once again, for someone who admits that she doesn't watch the channel, she seems to know an awful lot about what goes on there, doesn't she?
You better not watch much of network television because they're puking on every show you watch.
I don't. But so that's just my point, is that, you know, I agree, life sometimes is not pretty. But to have a community access channel and to have producers who sit there and think, okay, now what can we really do that's going to stir things up and really offend people this week?
And again, Carolyn Long talking at length about stuff that she has pretty much admitted she obviously doesn't watch. And having our agendas and our words put in our mouth like that, gee, yeah, we all sit around all the time. Gee, what can we do? What can we do to really offend people and turn them off? What can we do to really push people's buttons this week? I've got an idea. A former newscaster who's unbelievably ignorant and talks about a channel she admittedly doesn't watch, and, well, let's just throw her ignorance up all over the town for everyone to see. That'll really push people's buttons. That'll really offend people.
What I'm concerned about is not the valid programming, in my opinion.
The valid programming that she, you know, fully admits that she doesn't actually watch.
What bothers me is the shock programming. And I think you know exactly what I'm talking about.
The shock programming, and I think you know exactly what I'm talking about. Well, she's proven conclusively throughout this roundtable she has no idea what she's talking about, but she's concerned about the shock programming, and we're all supposed to know exactly what she's talking about. Let me go over some of the shock programming and a lot of the people who just sit around and say, how are we going to offend people this week? Let me see. Well, there's us, the Abbey of the Lemur. We've done some things that push people's buttons over the years. Back early on, there was one show we did in a commercial chicken house where we basically went in there with a camera and showed everyone exactly what it looks like. And the farm manager in question, or the former farm manager, actually killed a few of the injured chickens, which is part of what he did, you know, take the injured chickens and put them out of their misery before the other chickens jumped on them, raped them, killed them, and ate them, which is what happens in a commercial chicken house. We got some complaints from some animal rights people. Personally, I think those people should have given us a medal because they're opposed to this factory farming kind of thing. And we showed them pretty much without any, you know, in no uncertain terms, exactly what happens in those places. I mean, we weren't specifically coming out for it or against it. We just kind of threw it up in your face and said, here it is, do what you want, think what you want. You know, we're not going to lead a horse to water. Another thing we did was this simulated fisting. what we intended to show and kind of demonstrate in kind of a colorful way here was the way the pro-censorship culture war types, pretty much being a lot of the folks sitting at this table here, the way they make people like us who engage in free speech, promote free speech, advocate free speech, want to protect free speech, pretty much the way they make us feel. And we felt it was a pretty funny gag, and that got us railroaded with a bogus obscenity charge, and we were pretty much, I don't know if I want to say acquitted, it never went to court, but we were pretty much vindicated in the deal. It's real obvious that, for anyone who was actually paying attention and watching, it was satire, it was political commentary, it was social commentary. But folks just had to push us on it. Anyway, typical of the Carolyn Longs, the Ann Hannas, the Brian Maloneys, the Johnny Tittles. But another, let's see, those are a couple of instances with Abbey or Lemur. In 2000, Leslie Morris made a movie called Hammurabi, which I played a small role in, and it was basically a story about a rape victim taking revenge on her attacker, and actually got a lot of acclaim, got a lot of notice. The late Trent Trumbo actually tried to argue against CAT being funded because of that. Personally, just great flick that really showed rape as being a bad thing, and kind of really enabled me to ask Mr. Trumbo, so if you're coming out against this little short film that shows rape as being bad, does that mean you're in favor of rape? I'm sure Mr. Trumbo wasn't, but I don't know, it just goes to show the mentality of these pro-censorship types. We had a movie called The Buckeye by Jet Black, and that was a pretty interesting flick, really relevant in the culture war sense, and also when you look at what was going on in Fayetteville at the time with the smoking ban and everything else, kind of said a lot about trying to control people's behavior, and and a lot of the people sitting at this table would actually be the foils in that movie, kind of interestingly enough. Shannon did this kind of erotically charged art film called Automaton, which I was in and I helped out a lot with, and in fact I edited the thing, and am still to this day really proud of the way it came out. Just fantastic, provocative piece, and I dare anyone to say there's nothing artistic about it. Anyway, yeah, there's a lot of the shock programming that Carolyn Long knows so much about.
I wonder where that law crept up.
It's called Miller versus United States.
It's called what?
Miller versus California.
When?
1980, I think, 84.
That's a question I was going to address. Do you mind explaining that?
Now, there's a three-part test called the Miller test that before something that can be banned as obscene, it must appeal to prurient interest, which means it turns you on. So Drake's suggestion about the farting, that I hope that doesn't turn you on, so that would not be obscene. That's maybe offensive, certainly, but bathroom humor would never be found to be legally obscene, which means the only thing you can ban, the government can ban, is legal obscenity. Second test says that it must be patently offensive, as defined by state law. If I read to you, and I have it with me, but if I read to you Arkansas's description of patent offensiveness, I guarantee you'd be offended, so I won't do that. I don't think so. I don't think you want to hear it. And then third, the second step is judged by community standards, and that's where a lot of people say, well, in our community, we don't want that. That's fine, but the third step is what's called the values test, and it says that in order to ban something as obscene, it must totally lack any scientific, literary, artistic, political value. And And that is judged on a national standard, not a local standard. So, to be honest, bottom line, unless it's something, I'll give you one example from the law, unless it's something like bestiality, it's not obscene. Mere nudity is not obscene, simulated sex is not obscene. Sex itself is not obscene unless it's hardcore, up-close, repeated sexual conduct.
I can't believe that people call that normal.
No, we're not. We're saying that's obscene.
I think that this is the most weird part that we've gotten to in this law.
But this is a national standard.
That's
This is
the
a United
it's
States
a
Supreme Court
constitutional law.
Just a moment.
Constitutional law.
I've got it in front of me here, and I realize you teach this, but you misquoted what was stated there. The community standards are in the first step.
Okay.
Community standards are in the first step. Whether it has with an average person applying contemporary community standards, that's the community available, community access. That sounds like to me the community should have control.
That's right.
Community.
Sounds like the community should have control. No, see, when our founding fathers wrote the Constitution, wrote the Bill of Rights, there was such a thing as tyranny of the majority, and free speech is supposed to prevent that. Let me see. I don't know what to tell Johnny here. Not a big fan of freedom by all I can tell. Community access means the community gets to control it. No, it means anyone in the community gets to use it. As far as them being able to shove their values and their jackbooted standards down other people's throats, I think it's very much against that kind of thing. That's my assessment of the situation anyway.
Standards, right? And you rebelled against that a while ago. Community standards. Community standards would find that the work, taken as a whole, appeals to the pure interest. And that's a wide-ranging thing. So if the community is offended by that one thing alone, if the community as a whole is offended, or the community as a majority is offended.
But the test is a three-part test, and one part won't get it.
I believe one part will get it. I believe one part has gotten it in several cases,
No.
is my understanding.
No, it's been
I
tried.
mean,
Well, perhaps in some inbred backwoods place, but if it was appealed to a higher court, I'm sure it was thrown out.
No, it's been
I
tried.
mean, who's
It's been tried
judging this
across the
test
country.
The United
anyway?
States Supreme Court.
Well, who are they to judge?
Yeah, she never disappoints. Do you ever get the impression that Anne would probably be happier in a world where she could kind of sit on a little throne and yell off with their heads? I do.
A while ago, you made a statement a while ago about freedom of expression. There is no such thing as freedom of expression in our Constitution. It wasn't even brought up until '69 that there was anything about freedom of expression. It had to do
Freedom of
with-
speech
it had
is
to do
in the
with
First
arms.
Amendment.
Freedom of speech, yes. And you know what the freedom of speech and the freedom of the press was all about with our founding fathers? It was political. This has nothing to do with politics. And this is taking it and stretching it far beyond. We had judges in '69 on the Supreme Court that sat there and changed our Constitution.
We did.
And therein is the only reason we're having this discussion. Before that time, communities threw this kind of thing out. They didn't put up with it. There were areas of town where this type of stuff was tolerated back before '69. I come from Dallas. I saw those things. But before '69, these things were not brought into the public arena. Why? Because the communities did not tolerate it.
Yeah, it was so much easier back in '69, back before '69, when you could just throw on your white sheet and run out and give them a good old-fashioned Christian lynching. Boy, well, we're in it now, aren't we? Don't know what to say. I think anyone who would be opposed to free expression is a lunatic. Anyone who would want to take away our freedoms instead of having more of them is... I have no problem comparing them to Nazis. That's kind of inflammatory, but I'll go for it. In fact, I don't know, you may notice... One thing you may notice is that in back of me, I've had these paintings kind of periodically appearing behind me, and most, if not all of them, are nudes in one shape, form, or another, just nude figures and whatnot. Why is that? Because I'm daring some of you idiots out there to try to call art pornography. Come on, make my day. Go for it. Anyway. Well, Johnny's kind of an odd bird, and he does have a lot of these weird ideas with, there not being any such thing as freedom of expression. For anyone who's been paying attention to Lori Taylor and the whole issue with the Fayetteville school books, Johnny Tittle, for those of you who don't know, X number of books in the Fayetteville High School library are being contested as obscene and pornographic, and it's pretty much being proven and deconstructed over and over again. No, these books are not pornographic, but like I said, these people don't go by the obscenity or pornography standards. They just kind of make up their own version of it. But Johnny Tittle is actually, if you listen to his radio show, you'll get to hear him and a lot of his audience go off about it. And Lori Taylor's also in with that crowd. And just vehement, just venomous anti-literature, anti-art, anti-free speech kind of rhetoric. And he's very big. He's a very big part of that movement to get rid of these books. And he and they display some weird ideas there too. I mean, he's very proud and not at all shy about telling you that the presence of these provocative books, we'll call them provocative, in the school systems is part of a national conspiracy run by pedophile groups, the teachers' unions, and the American Library Association to procure children for sex. I'm not joking. They really do believe this, and if you read between the lines with Lori Taylor, unlike Johnny Tittle, actually plays well to moderates, which is why she can get people like, just halfway legit journalists like Mike Masterson actually get behind her and take up the cudgel for her and feel to realize, dude, you're backing a bunch of wackos. Anyway, so it goes. These people really do believe this nonsense.
In '69, judges, 9 men, made a decision. It wasn't a unanimous decision.
Yeah, unanimous. There's a big word. Try not to choke on it.
Judges made the decision that it was no longer freedom of the press and freedom of speech. It was freedom of expression. And that opened the floodgates to things like we're talking about tonight. That's not in our Constitution, though.
But it's still law.
It's still law.
Well,
And unless you want the city of Fayetteville to get sued,
Who cares?
well,
Who
maybe you
cares?
don't. Maybe you don't.
I don't. I think
Yeah, she never disappoints.
we can afford it. We're rich.
Maybe you can, Miss Hannah. I can't.
oh, that's another show.
I think that we are so scared to stand up for righteousness. We're
Standing up for righteousness, e.g. fascism.
afraid we're going to be sued for every little thing. And my whole idea is, who cares? This money in the economy is just going out the bank anyway.
Well, it's obvious that the programmers know that this stuff is offensive, or they wouldn't be putting it on 3 o'clock in the morning. That's what I was trying to get at a while ago.
It's offensive to people like you, but maybe not to the people that they want to see it at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Who understand?
That's the whole point. They're putting it on after prime time. If it wasn't for the fact that it had certain content, you might see it at 8 o'clock in the morning. You might see it at noon. But no, it's being put on.
It's not a locally produced show.
Yeah, that's the main reason it's on it.
And
Was yours a
many-
locally produced show?
It was by Abbey of the Lemur.
Yeah, and what time did you see that?
It was 9.
About 9 p.m. in the evening?
Yeah, you
It's
need
supposed to go on after midnight or 11.
There-
They have an audit.
Let's dismantle this putz right here and now. Okay. Locally produced program, the Abbey of the Lemur, on at 9. Unless we do the occasional non-VDA show, which means viewer discretion advised, unless we're kind of steering away from that and doing a show kind of like the one I'm doing now, which is tailored so anyone can see it at any time of the day, we we voluntarily have our shows play after midnight. If there's anything provocative or edgy that we do, we're generally not going to play it. We're generally not going to play it at 9. And I would suggest to Mr. Maloney, put up or shut up. If you can prove that that happened, where is it? Sounds like nonsense to me. Let me see what else. Okay, he talks about shows which he doesn't really peg to us, but something about this guy, having sex with a Barbie doll. I'm not sure what the hell that is. Woman licking the breast of another woman. Not sure I remember that one. Women playing with a dildo. Guilty. Then there was that one about having sex in a graveyard. Nope, we never did that. Anyway, I'd like to say once again, if Mr. Maloney's going to make these wild accusations, put up or shut up, especially if you're going to attach our name to it.
So
That's all right.
they are being censored. The programming of this station is censoring that material.
No,
to
they're
put it-
choosing it. The
Who's
producers
choosing
choose it.
Who?
They're choosing to censor it during certain times of the day. They're not putting it on during
No,
certain.
they're not.
That's
The
a programming
producers are
decision.
making that
That's a
choice.
programming decision, and
No,
they are censoring by
no,
their decision.
No.
Oh, Johnny, which is it? Okay. Well, first, the producers of a program are putting on at 3 in the morning because they know it'll offend people. Then the producers of these programs are being censored because it's not available at other times of the day. He's doing a heap of rowing, but he ain't got both oars in the water.
No, the producers have made the choice of what time slot they would like that
Why?
show to be
They
played.
could put it on at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Fortunately,
Assuming
they have
that-
better sense
Assuming there
than
wasn't
that.
a local show that didn't want to take its place.
No, I think he's talking
I
about the
don't
local
believe
show
that.
now.
I don't believe you there. I don't believe that it is available to be put on during that time of day. It's
You mean now you're saying I'm lying to you?
Now, which one are you
Not
talking
believing
about? You
you.
talking about the local show or
Maybe
the
I'm
imported
mistaken.
show?
I'm talking about whatever shows are bringing up the obscene levels.
The obscene levels, bringing up the obscene levels, whatever the hell that means. Is it the local show or the imported show? The imported show or the local show? Johnny doesn't know. Johnny has no clue. Johnny's lost.
You know,
No, these controversial shows.
Pat Robertson?
I think you're smarter than that. You're smarter than that. You know what I'm talking about.
Well, I mean, if you
These-
throw obscene around, I can throw obscene
Philip
around.
Wiley said,
I'm sure.
Philip Wiley said, ignorance is not bliss, it's oblivion. And what I've been saying all along is, if you want to complain about the CAT schedule, go to the website, look at the schedule, see what's on. And if you find a program that offends you, log it and call and complain.
I've done that. It does no good.
Are you saying you called and complained?
I have.
Who, to?
Person answering the phone.
Yeah, I know how to log an official complaint. Well, a lot of people don't. I really shouldn't bag on him for that. But what's he going to say? Yeah, the show he supposedly saw at 9 o'clock that supposedly had people having sex in a graveyard or something to that effect. Now, I wouldn't dream of calling Mr. Maloney a liar, but I think he definitely needs to put up or shut up.
To give you a name, I mean, I've called Mayor Cootie. I've called
There's
my...
a chain, there's a chain, you call CAT, then it goes to
Well,
the
I'm telling you, I've
papers.
called Cat, but I've also called others.
Well, it
And
must
it-
have worked because we're here tonight.
Well,
Yeah.
and someone made an article in the newspaper today that this issue only comes up when the contract is getting renewed. No, it doesn't. I raise the issue all the time, but I'm told over and over, free speech, nothing you can do.
Free speech, nothing you can do. Free speech, nothing you do. Isn't that just terrible? Oh, freedom. Isn't that awful? Well, we got to do something about that. Just nip it right in the bud. Let's get rid of it. Nip it right in the bud. Get rid of that pesky freedom.
I've
all
done
there.
editing down here. I know what you're talking about.
It's all there for you to do. And that to me seems like the easiest solution for, people who are concerned about
But
it.
that's far from being the community. That is a very
and-
select group.
And going,
And that's the community's choice, and it's a very poor choice. And again, a lot of it's ignorance. A lot of them aren't aware of the fact that they too can use this facility because they're all programmed to be vicarious kind of viewers and spectators instead of participants. Well, this is your wake-up call, Fayetteville. What you going to do with it? You going to do anything with it, or are you just going to sit around and be a spectator?
To community standards, though, I mean, I would be willing to bet cash money that, let's say somebody did sue Fayetteville and it went to a jury trial. I'd be willing to bet cash money the jury's going to say, this is acceptable.
I'm sorry.
Maybe they wouldn't in Bentonville, maybe they wouldn't in Springdale, maybe they wouldn't in Rogers, but in Fayetteville,
I don't think you're underestimating Fayetteville.
Well, we have
What, you saying there are more fascistic, inbred, reactionary fascists in Fayetteville than we think there are?
I've been sitting here, and it's miraculous that I haven't said the word.
Oh, look out! Here comes the voice of reason coming in like a napalm run.
Lindsay, you know me. Mrs. Hannah, I have to say something that you brought up a little bit earlier, and go back to it. You mentioned going up into Canada after the war. I've been extremely fortunate in my life. I've done a lot of traveling. I've been in 34 countries. My former wife was a major art connoisseur. We traveled a lot and saw a lot of things. And I spent a lot of time behind a video camera. And I took numerous pictures of our travels over the years. And she was a school teacher, and I had a sequence that I had shot in Rome, for example, at the Basilica, at St. Peter's. St. Peter's is surrounded by gorgeous statues all the way around the Basilica. You're nodding your head. It looks like you've seen it.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful.
It is. It's absolutely gorgeous. I took pictures of Rodin's works. I took pictures of Michelangelo's works. And I was really proud of this film that I had put together. She took it to school and was not allowed to show it because it was nudity. And this is what I hear from you, is what you want to have. You don't put a context on it if it's art that's in magazines or books or in statue form. The problem you have is if it's live. That's what I'm hearing you say. But you can accept nudity if it's in a statue. But the children can't see it because that's a no-no. And where do we draw this line? Who gives us the right to say who should see what? I love what Cat TV does.
Good.
Because they have the opportunity to show. If you don't like it, you push the damn button and turn it off.
Well, that's
Nailed it.
Yes, that line.
We're talking about community, and we're talking about it's not the community down here. I've been involved with this for 15 years, and this is your community down here because
Where?
Here.
You mean this is
no,
our
I'm talking
community
about,
of
I'm
Fayetteville,
talking about the
Arkansas?
men and women.
Yes, this is your community, and there are parts of it you probably aren't even aware of. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
The boys and girls of all ages who come to community access and work their butts off, making shows, and they reflect this community and they document life and history in this community. That's what they do. They are your community, and they reflect every religious belief, every sexual persuasion, every political belief. They're all down here. It's not just a group of mad leftist anarchists in the editing room. It's people of all persuasions, people of all beliefs, who are all working very hard. And yes, one thing I've learned, it is your community down here. Maybe not all the shows represent what you believe, but some of the shows do. And they are your community, and they work hard. And I think, this is kind of bashing the hardworking people who come down here and do shows. It's not easy to do. And I think they have done a public service for us, the producers down here. Maybe you don't like everything they've done, but I think for the most part, they have enriched this community. And I think really what I said before, go to the CAT website and check out the schedule and just see what's on TV. And it makes talking about CAT a whole lot easier if we all
and
know
we have
what's
about
on.
1 minute left.
Are we nearly through? I will have one thing to say. I forgot to say this a while ago. I have used CAT.
Yeah, she has used CAT. In fact, I remember one instance when she and some other folks were in there taping I forget what it was called at the time. Now they refer to it as short takes. It was kind of funny. They did this deal. It was right around the time of the Human Dignity Resolution, and Mrs. Hannah and her people who were all dressed up in period clothing just ranted on about how awful it was to demand dignity and respect and rights for perverts. Which, of course, you watch Abbey at the Lemur for any length of time, obviously, we have no problem with gay people. I found that rather offensive. You know what, though? Because I'm not like your typical kind of hypocritical PC liberal. I would fight and die for her right to do convey that kind of message. Absolutely. Doesn't matter if I agree with it. Doesn't matter if I like it, consider it destructive or whatever. It's her right to say it, and go cat go. I'm not going to draw a line in the sand and say free speech for everyone except the people I don't agree with. I don't care if you're demanding my head on a pike. I will support your right to do that.
Want to see it? Turn it off.
People have the right to make what they want to make with their own money. But when it comes to my money, and it is our money, I don't care what anybody says, it is our money, then I have a right to say what my money's used for, and I don't want it used for pornography.
Pornography, not by any kind of legit legal standard, but, oh, I don't like it, it's pornography.
That's what this
I
is.
would agree.
I have to exactly say what the others are saying. Come down here, become a producer.
Well, for someone
Okay,
that works,
even if you did become a producer, it still would not,
Offset
it would
all
say, it
of
would
the
not
stuff.
not have any impact on the stuff that's seen that's offensive.
If you crowd it off the air, it will.
well, you have local producers that are producing things that are objectionable as well.
Yeah. And
Objection, blah, 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 blah.
they have more spare time than us hard-working people.
And I will say,
Yeah, we got more spare time than hard workers like Ann and Hannah. Well, for me, with all the time on my hands, I work a graveyard shift factory job, helping support the local economy. And sometimes I work up to 6-7 days a week, and so where's everyone else's excuse? Someone needs to tell Mrs. Hannah that sitting around listening to James Dobson tapes in her pretty little house and going to antique doll shows isn't a job. It doesn't qualify as hard work. Sorry. Well, I'm just going to leave it there because I've said everything. Hope you enjoyed a look at the critics. As I've said before in the trailers, they're not smart, they're not nice, and, well, they sure don't appreciate freedom too much. At least unless it's their own. Anyway, go have more talk of these sad things. I'll catch you on the flip-flop.
About everything. that doesn't mean that you would remove all objectionable material, because the one I saw a few years ago was locally produced, and I can tell you it was pretty objectionable, but it was not, did not cross the line into obscenity. I did not think. They would have liked to, but they probably weren't skillful enough to get there.
Goodbye to your things, say goodbye to the rest. Be a closer self, be a piece of me, be everything you can. Take them back away, take me with you. Take the Christmas out, use the night garden, use it where I belong. This is the place of supper. Let me take you with me, let me take you with me, let me take you with me,
Christ, Jesus 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 Christ.